Hey folks, Grant back here from the Ethical Predator, and today we're going to be covering favorite game to chase with a recurve, and that's the ringneck pheasant. I remember being regaled with stories by my grandfather chasing them in the Niagara and Welland Canal area of southwestern Ontario. And one day while I was out trying to apply for brook trout in a little feeder creek in behind where they lived, I was all alone. I came off the edge of that creek and was walking along the side of a little bridge area. Right near the edge of the water, I heard a noise. I step out onto the little old gravel tote road that was far overgrown, and there standing not 10 feet away was a massive ringneck rooster. And I thought, oh my God, it's like right out of any Sports Afield covered, Outdoor Life magazine cover. There it was in front of me. I ran all the way home, tripping over myself, to call my grandfather and tell him what I'd just seen. The ringneck pheasant is a very challenging target for any bow hunter, all right, let alone shotgunners. So I'm going to give you some tips to hunting ringnecks that'll really help you pay off. First of all, it's finding suitable habitat and cover. Most of the ringnecks that I have hunted here in Ontario, while they do go in for grain and they feed on the edge of waste grain, they'll get into the waste grain, and they like a lot of cover. In fact, my grandfather's nickname for them was ditch parrots. And most of the ringnecks that I've taken here and chased in Ontario are in the bottomlands and that real wet habitat type of area, close to creeks, close to swamps, with a lot of cattail cover nearby as well. Generally, what I do with ringnecks is I'll walk them up on either side of cover with my daughter. If we see a bird, then that other hunter will sort of act as a back blocker for that bird, because we know when that bird runs out of cover, it's probably going to fly. So what we tend to do is, generally with her, I'll let her go in and tackle that bird. And it's a heck of a lot of fun. She knows where the bird is and she's anticipating that shot. And my big tip on hunting ringnecks on the wing with a recurve or a longbow is real simple. Typically, if you get a bird where it's busting out of high cover, a pheasant does what's called towering. So when it takes off, it really tries to get a lot of altitude. And the best time to get that bird is before it hits the peak of its tower and levels out. After that, a fast swinging shotgun is probably all it's going to take to pull that bird down, because that's going to be 25, maybe 20 yards away at that time already. So the big thing is, I would say that most of the birds I've taken on the wing are probably within about 10 feet or 15 feet of where they've jumped, and I've gotten them before they actually get up and tower. That requires a bit of a training method, and there's nothing like warming up with some flu-flus, which all I use for pheasants, and 2 or 3 fletch flu-flus, and practicing with a foam disc thrown up in the air is a great idea. I'm a big fan of even clay birds. I'll have someone throw a clay bird up in front of me. It's a smaller target, not as much mass as a foam target, and it allows me to really zoom in and focus on that using that old aim small, miss small kind of idea, all right? Let's move on to using dogs. I use dogs when I pheasant hunt with a recurve bow. Now, I've got one dog when we bow hunt with. We take turns, even though she's a real steady. So we put her on a check cord. So one person's on the check cord for safety, because broadheads and dogs don't mix. So there's no ground shots, it's all aerial shots. And when we do hit a bird, we control that. If the arrow is stray somewhere, the dog doesn't get picked off that check cord. But it's invaluable for finding that bird. So all I use is broadheads. Pheasants are a very, very tough bird. You can go ahead and use a good blunt. If you don't hit them in the head or the neck, you're going to be on an Olympic chase, a new sport, which I highly advise against doing. It's really important to use broadheads, and that's why I gave you the caution about the bird dogs ahead of that, as well as broadheads being up in the air. Use flu-flus, range rules, ensure you know what's beyond your target if you're going to take a shot, and use caution, all right? Now, what I tend to do is use 2 and 3 fletch flu-flus. The 2 fletch are for a little bit farther shot. So if I'm in an open field and those birds are jittery and they're going to get up further in front of me, I'll use a 2 fletch, a little more speed, but it still slows things down. Look at our shot challenge this week in the Ethical Predator community. It's week 13. We're actually doing a pheasant shot this week. I hope that helps some of you folks out. Ringneck pheasants are a great challenge with a recurve bow. I remember sitting on my grandfather's knee, and I've written about this in my book, Dakota Traditional Archery, watching Fred Bear pluck pheasants out of the air. I was a little kid back in the late 70s. Absolutely inspiring. And there's nothing like chasing ringneck pheasants with a recurve or a longbow. I highly encourage it if you've got them around. And safety in mind, and enjoy them. The big plus about a ringneck is they're absolutely fantastic table fare. You can't go wrong hunting them. Good luck to everyone out there. Stay tuned for more tips. Keep your broadhead sharp and your string waxed.